It's aggravating seeing people on conservative news try to identify with me like I'm one of them. It's aggravating seeing certain musicians and politicians act like we're buddies and act like we're fighting the same struggle here, like that we're trying to present the same message. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and I've tried to be polite to everybody, and I've talked to hundreds of people the last 2 weeks. It seems like certain people want to just ride the attention of this song to maybe make them their own selves relevant, and that's aggravating as hell. The other thing that I find aggravating is, it was funny seeing my song in the. It was funny seeing it at the presidential debate, because it's like I wrote that song about those people, So for them to have to sit there and listen to that cracks me up. But it was funny kind of seeing the response to it. Like, that song has nothing to do with Joe Biden, It's a lot bigger than Joe Biden. That song is written about the people on that stage, and a lot more too, not just them, but definitely them.
Look, nobody cares if Oliver Anthony is criticizing Republicans. We all do that. But just to be totally honest, when he says that he's aggravated by people in, quote, conservative news, I guess there are various ways of interpreting that, but that would seem to me very much to be a reference to the people who gave him a platform to begin with.
All right, folks. Well, I guess today we got to address a little bit of drama that has been dividing the conservative movement over these recent Oliver Anthony comments. As you know, Oliver Anthony is the author of that famous song, Rich Men North of Richmond. That's that populist, anti-establishment song talking about the decline of our country, talking about how politicians have sold out our country. And as you know, it was played at the Republican debate. Okay, and Oliver Anthony basically came out in the video you saw in the beginning saying that it's funny that Republicans are embracing this song so much when I was equally talking about a lot of the politicians on that debate stage as well. Now, some people in this movement have taken that to mean he's selling out to the liberals. Some people have more nuanced takes on that. I'm actually going to react here today to the Matt Walsh take on it because it honestly added a little bit more nuance I guess I didn't consider when I first saw the clip. But before we get into that, let me say that when I initially first saw this, I had absolutely no problem with it. And to a very large degree, I still don't have that much of a problem with what Oliver Anthony overall was getting at, which is the fact that, look, guys, obviously Republicans have embraced this song because it's been so popular in the conservative movement, specifically the populist, anti-establishment, America first, right? Whatever you want to call it, side of the conservative movement. But the reality is that the general sentiment he's getting at, as inconvenient to some conservatives as it may be, is absolutely true, which is that a lot of the people on that stage, yes, just like Joe Biden, just like Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, are equally rich men north of Richmond. And you look at a lot of the bipartisan things they have done to screw over this country over the past few decades, Republicans are absolutely just as complicit in it too. And you guys know that I am no Republican Party shill. Okay, the reality is there's just as many corporate Republicans as there are corporate Democrats. Would I realistically ever vote for a Democrat? No, but it doesn't mean that the Republican Party in any way is perfect. And, frankly, I think it actually makes the message of his song more authentic, and the fact that he is equally willing to criticize Republicans shows that he's really about what he meant in that song. Because if you truly understand politics in this country, and truly if you're a Trump supporter like myself, you actually understand why Donald Trump is popular in the first place, because the Republicans in many ways are just as bad as the Democrats. You want to talk about the trade deals that have sold out this country. Very often we'll blame Bill Clinton for NAFTA or Obama for trying to do TPP, but these ideas were just equally as popular with Republicans. You look at a lot of the quote unquote COVID stimulus. That is a big reason for, why the economy is so screwed up right now. How many Republicans equally went along with that stuff? It is very true. It is very true. So like I said, I'm not a shill for the Republican Party by any means. And so when I saw that clip, yes, he could have communicated it better. I understand why it was taken a little bit out of context, because keep in mind too, the guy doesn't have a PR firm. The guy's not even a political commentator. And so I read that what he said there meaning to be that it's bigger than Joe Biden. Joe Biden's a part of it, but it's not just about Biden. But some people are saying, no, he's selling out to Biden. I don't think that's what happened there at all. However, that was my initial take on this. I do want to react to the Matt Walsh opinion, though, because I think he brought up some things I didn't really consider, which is that, yes, he's 100% right to criticize Republicans, but when he throws stuff like conservative media, besides Fox News is corporate, but I don't know, it seems like he might be talking wider than that, and then specifically musicians who also try to help get his song out there. You know, Matt Walsh, we'll give the take, and we'll play the take here and the reaction to it. But Matt Walsh basically makes the argument that overall, to a degree, it seems like he's throwing the very people under the bus that made him famous in the first place. Like I said, let's just play this and then we'll kind of talk more about it, okay? Because let's hear out his take on this.
Look, nobody cares if Oliver Anthony is criticizing Republicans. We all do that. Nobody criticizes Republicans more than conservatives. It's our favorite pastime. We all do it all the time. That's all fine, okay? So I don't care about that. But just to be totally honest, when he says that he's aggravated by people in, quote, conservative news, I guess there are various ways of interpreting that, but that would seem to me very much to be a reference to the people who gave him a platform to begin with. People who, people who connected his song to other people. Now, people connected with the song because it's a good song, and that's all on him. He made a good song. True. But they heard it to begin with because of conservative media and conservative personalities and influencers. Prior to that, Oliver Anthony had an audience of basically no one on YouTube. And that's just a fact. You know, he wouldn't have an audience without the conservative media personalities that he is now aggravated by.
So I do think that's a genuine point, which is that, you know, I will say I think the song went far further than conservative media. It's a lot of popular with people who don't really care about politics. But it is pretty true that part of the reason it blew up so much to begin with, again, I think the reach is way wider than conservative, the hardcore conservative political people, I should say, and just the conservative media in general. But he is right there to say that the reason it became so popular is because a lot of conservative media began talking about it. Now, at the same time, part of why I say I just don't know if it was overall just the best communicated thing overall is because I think, honestly, I don't know. Someone should ask him. But when he says conservative media, he can just be talking about Fox News because he's obviously responding to the fact that Fox News is the people who played his song at the debate and they're associated with being conservative media, right? So it would have been, I guess, more ideal if he just said Fox News. But, you know, well, if you want to take it directly only as a shot at Fox News absolutely deserves it. Fox News is run by rich men north of Richmond. They are equally as part of the political and media establishment as, say, your MSNBC or CNN or whatever it is. But like I said, I think that's why part of this situation really comes down to, I guess, poor communication and a little bit of misunderstanding. But again, you know, someone should really ask Oliver Anthony what he really thinks about these things. But I guess that's another way you could read it in his defense. Like I said, I'm a little bit more neutral on this, but let's continue hearing his argument out here, okay?
I'm old-fashioned, I admit. I tend to think, like a thank you is perhaps more in order than expressions of aggravation. I don't know. But what really rubbed me the wrong way most of all is not even that. When he says musicians, he throws musicians into that. And he says, I'm aggravated by the musicians who are pretending to be buddies with me. Like which musicians are you referring to? Because only a very, very, very few prominent musicians ever acknowledged that the guy even exists. I mean, John Rich is the only one I can even think of. There might have been a few others, but and John Rich was not pretending to be Oliver's buddy. He was trying to help him get his music out. Almost all the other musicians just never said a single word about Oliver Anthony at all. So, and the few who did were complimenting him and supporting him, and he's saying that he's aggravated by them, which is interesting.
And I think that's interesting too. I think he is right about that. Because especially if he wants the song to have a wide-reaching appeal, he may not agree with all of the musicians on political issues that shared his song. But I think it is true that it is still an overall net positive that all these entities are sharing his song, right? I would even say, even if he doesn't really like what happened there, it's a net positive that his song was played at the Republican debate, because at the very least, the Republicans had to sit there and listen to it. But also, you know, even if they're not sincere about it, it's overall a good thing that that message is being pushed into the political conversation. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is a legitimate point by Matt. It's a little bit, you could say, snaky or whatever it is. At least it comes off that way. But let's continue.
And finally, he says that he's aggravated by the fact that the song was played at the Republican debate. Well, you know, an interesting fact here is that Fox called him and asked for permission to play it at the debate. And we know that because the Fox anchors who were the moderators have said that. They said they got permission. But even if they didn't say that, we already know. Anyone who knows how these things work already knows. You know, when I heard it playing at the debate myself, I immediately knew that Oliver Anthony approved that because of copyright law. And they're not going to just play the song without permission. I mean, they could, but they're probably not going to. They're going to get permission. And they said that they did. So,
which is true. Yeah, there's no way a network that big is going to just play someone's song without copyright permission. That could be a really big lawsuit. Obviously, they're not going to do that.
He approved the song being played and then said he's aggravated by it, and then said he doesn't want the song politicized, and he approved it being played at a political debate. So doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's where I'm at here. You know, I do think he seems to be playing sort of both sides of the fence a little bit, and I don't mean politically. I don't care that he's a centrist. Centrism is incoherent. It's never made less sense to be a political centrist than it does today, when the two sides are so fundamentally opposed on the fundamental realities of life. There really is no middle ground on these issues.
Which is true. But, what I would say to that, too, and, like I said, I actually do respect and agree with a lot of his take on this. But I think it really comes down to the fact that Oliver Anthony's not a political guy. And I don't think it's a matter of him being malicious. I think he's just not communicating this the best. And even comes down to his centrism. I think if you really break it down in a nerdy political sense, I don't think he's a centrist. I think Oliver Anthony, if anything, is just more so disaffected with both sides. If you're disaffected with the Republicans and the Democrats, which frankly, I am too, Matt Walsh is to a lot of people, it doesn't necessarily mean you're a centrist. It just means you don't like both sides. It doesn't mean you believe in a bipartisan line between both. It just means they both suck. So really, the correct term for him would be more so something of a populist, or whatever you want to call it. But like I said, I think that's why this comes down to, it's not a matter of that Oliver Anthony is selling out to anyone, or I think it's just more so he's not communicating this the best, and that's why it's being taken the wrong way. But
an issue like, for example, is a woman, can a woman be a man or not? Like, there's no middle ground. It's just, you can't, it doesn't exist. So you really do have to choose a side. You just do, period. So centrism makes no sense, but I don't care about that. If you're a musician and you say you're a centrist, whatever, who cares? That's not the point. And
I will say, I think where he's a centrist is probably more so economic issues, which I wouldn't even say it's necessarily centrism. It's more so populism. But, I think the argument he's more so trying to make is like, yeah, Democrats believe in all these crazy big government socialist policies that just run up inflation and screw over the economy. But also there's a lot of Republicans who have been such shills for the quote unquote free market. That's not even really a free market. They're more so, shilling for the corporations and their monopoly on things, which creates the situation where middle America is hollowed out because of quote unquote free trade, where pharmaceutical drugs are unaffordable because partially of Democrats, but also there's a lot of Republicans who defend medical patents and stuff like that out of the name of, well, that's just a free market, right? If the drug company wants to sell insulin at $2,000 a pill, that's just a free market. I think that's more so what he means, right? Because keep in mind, too, the song mostly is a more so economic song, not entirely, but economic song. Like I said, I think that's what he means. But I understand why people can take this anyway, because like I said, Oliver Anthony overall has not been the best communicator about this stuff. And it's a fair take, I think.
What could be perceived as throwing people who've helped and supported you under the bus, that's the thing I don't like. But then again, the guy doesn't have a PR firm helping him through this. That's the point. So it is what it is. That's what we're left with. That's my take. Hey, you.
Yeah, so there's Matt Walsh's take on it. And he brought up the point at the end, which is my central point here, which is I understand what Oliver Anthony's trying to say. At least I think I do. And I kind of reiterated that there. But I don't think he's communicating it the best, which is why he's leaving the door open for a lot of people who previously supported him to totally take that the wrong way. That's my interpretation. You guys can obviously let me know what you think of that. But the overall verdict on him, to me, would be this. It's just that, look, the guy doesn't have a PR firm. The guy doesn't, really know. I mean, I don't mean this in a mean sense, but the guy doesn't really know what he's doing in terms of trying to communicate or talk politics or communicate with political people. So I think we all should cut the guy some slack, Oliver Anthony being. You know what I mean? I think I know what he's saying, but even if he's not, at the end of the day, he's a guy who made a good song. And he's a guy who made a good song that appealed to a lot of people. And frankly, if you agree with the things he said in that song, then that's all that you have to say. I agree with the things he said in that song. You don't even have to necessarily agree with him as a person. You don't have to whatever, right? I think that's all that this comes down to. I also don't think that the guy, like I said, may not be the best communicator, which again, he's not a political person. He also became famous overnight. So it's not like he's been trained or knows how to do this stuff. I think, though, when you see him, he went on Joe Rogan the other day. He sat down reading the Bible on that giant podcast and all that stuff. I think he's a sincere guy. I think he means well. Like I said, I don't think he should be propped up to be some type of political ideologue or visionary. But I also don't think Matt Walsh is doing this, but I do see some people doing this, right? I don't think the conservative movement should totally throw the guy under the bus because he doesn't communicate what he's saying well. I don't think he's communicating something that's particularly bad. He's not doing the best job of doing it. But like I said, it's Oliver Anthony. Why do we expect that from him? So that's overall my take on this situation. You guys can let me know what you think. I'm not advocating for throwing the guy under the bus or disowning the song. You guys can let me know if you are, though. Okay, let me know, obviously, in the comment section down below. And be sure to like and subscribe before you go. And until then, folks, Alpha Moves only. God bless. Everyone have a very good day and peace. Let me know what you think.